I am one of many women that have had the privilege to go through Precious Life Shelter. My name is Dolores. I am 25 years old. I am a mother to 3 amazing children. Emily is 7, Elissa is 6, and Xavier is 2. I'm deeply moved that I was asked to speak a little bit about my experience at PLS. I feel that it's very important to share a little bit about my past, and by sharing this, I'm hoping you have a better understanding of where I came from and where I am today. I am blessed to have a wonderful family. They are very loving and supportive, but also unaware of a few terrible things that happened to me as a child. I was molested when I was very young. For many years, I believed it didn't affect me. I thought I was strong enough to move on from it, not knowing it would manifest itself throughout my entire life. At age 15, I began to spiral out of control. I was introduced to methamphetamine, and I felt invincible and knew that I felt invincible and knew all about life. I started to ditch school and get high and fail class. I began to distance myself from friends that didn't use and found a new crowd that interested me more. I was secretive, but it didn't take very long for my mother to catch on. I was placed into a rehab. I made a few bad decisions there and was kicked out after 2 months. I was back living with my mom, not going to school, using, and hanging out with my old crowd. I was in a relationship that didn't work, but that gave me my 2 beautiful daughters. I've never had a bullying relationship with men. I've been cheated on, abused mentally, physically. I couldn't see it at the time, but there were so many red flags. I was 18 years old when I broke up with my girl's father and was able to move in with my mother as long as I abided by her rules. Go to school, get a job, and stay clean. I completed a CNA course. I got a job, made several attempts to stay clean, but staying sober failed every time. I began to leave my girls with my mother for weeks at a time, knowing that they were well cared for and safe. It made it easier to run off every time. I eventually lost my job because I decided to get high and not show up to work. My mother tried every way possible to help me, but couldn't, so she finally called Children's Services. For about a year, I struggled. Sorry. Okay. For about a year, I struggled with court orders and meetings and drug testing. My daughters were 2 and 3 years old. Sorry. Just give me a minute. Okay. My daughters were 2 and 3 years old when I went into a second rehab. I learned many things while inside. I was clean for 5.5 months and graduated from the program. I was doing pretty well for a brief time in my life, but that ended when an older friend, Tony, that I used with, picked me up after work. I had no intentions of using that night, but failed once again. My life fell apart so fast. I didn't show up to work the next day. It didn't take too long before I started dating Tony. We were completely toxic for each other. Our relationships were based on drugs and pleasure and no more. He was in his 50s and had his family, and I had mine. Even that couldn't stop me. At this point of my life, my addiction had taken full control of me. I landed in hospitals, jails, and abandoned houses. I slept in garages, cars, and under bridges. I was sick. I would talk to myself and had hallucinations. I was scared, and everyone around me was scared. It got so bad that I would pull out my hair and would scratch myself so hard that I would bleed. I was so tired of the way I was living. I remember crying out to God every night for guidance and for protection, and to give me the strength to fight the urge. God has always been with me, in my heart. In my worst moments, He was with me. I found out that I was pregnant by Tony. He was more than willing to support me through the process of abortion. I was pressured to choose something that I was always been against. I felt so helpless and obligated to follow through with it. On the way to the appointment, I cried out to God, asking Him to do anything possible to put a stop to it. As soon as I arrived, I was asked to go to the back to change and wait my turn. As I was waiting, the doctor heard me coughing. He checked my breathing and said I was in no condition to be put to sleep. I walked out knowing I would not go back there. Tony went to prison on drug charges soon after. I wanted so bad to stop using, but didn't know how to start. It was easy to get high and almost impossible to stop. Time was running out. I was sick and tired and had hit rock bottom. I had nowhere to turn. I asked my grandmother to help me find a lady named Sylvia, who had tried to help me once before. I met up with her, and she took the time to look for beds. I quickly found myself on plenty of waiting lists for shelters that fit hundreds of men, women, and children all in one dorm. Knowing if I got accepted into one, I wouldn't have had the chance to bring my girls with me. My mother had already filed for adoption, and the court wouldn't accept that as a safe and suitable home for them. Sylvia looked into a special working program for women that were pregnant. She called them and told them about my situation. I was handed the phone for a quick interview. They said they had a bed available and to come in the first thing in the morning. I believe I came into Precious Life with nothing but a black bag and suitcase. I was greeted and assured that everything would be all right. After the intake, Wanda showed me where I would be sleeping. I finally felt safe and happy. I came in for a bed. Little did I know I would find much more. Wanda did not lie when she said it was a working program. She told me that it would be difficult at times, but if I really tried, I can do it. I was definitely willing to try anything. I just was so happy to be safe and clean, with a comfortable bed, regular meals, and a true home. I came with nothing to offer, but debt and plenty of setbacks. I couldn't see a way out, but I stayed put and trusted their advice. Soon after, I started to see some progress. I was changing. Showing up to court dates, passing drug tests, and going to meetings. I was quickly motivated to do much more. I soon moved over to transitional housing and continued my daily schedule. It wasn't easy proving myself to the court. Along with many things I had to accomplish for PLS, the courts had even more requirements. As soon as Precious Life saw that I was determined, and there was a chance in getting my girls back, they didn't waste any time fighting for me. As long as I put in the work, they supported me all the way. They kept me really busy and out of my own head. I had classes in the morning and meetings at night. When I thought my schedule couldn't be more booked, I welcomed my son Xavier. Life is busy. Little did I know they were preparing me for it. I had the time to bond with my son, and before I knew it, I was out looking for work. I soon made all requirements and was accepted to single-parent efficiency units. My efforts started to pay off. Children's Services were finally willing to grant me custody. I know I would do anything possible to get into the reunification unit. I worked very hard, and I found myself living with my 2 daughters and son. I was so grateful for PLS for making it possible for me to have a stable home. I continued to work very hard, They even blessed me with a car. I had the best moments with my children there. Precious moments I will never forget. I saw that my children needed me. They looked up to me. I felt I had a purpose. I loved taking my girls to school, working at Farmers Insurance, cooking meals, and reading books. I was finally debt-free, court-free, and actually saving money. Precious Life helped me become the mother I always wanted to be, cheering me over every obstacle I conquered. Through classes, they provided important tools I use today: parenting, counseling, budgeting, and much more. I graduated June of last year. I was lucky enough to move in with my grandmother and was able to return to school to be a certified nurse assistant. I am currently employed as a CNA at Claremont Care Center. I love what I do today. I have a compassion in my heart for helping others. And even with this, I'm currently looking for an apartment and know that my children and I will be in our home by the end of the year. I am blessed to have family members who can support me after my time at Precious Life. Not all women have a place to go after successfully completing the program. Precious Life has purchased a new property that will provide safe, affordable apartments for women like me who have graduated. One of the struggles women have is finding homes for their family. I believe the permanent housing program will bridge that gap. I lived at Precious Life for 2 amazing, life-changing years. I found a real home there, and I am still in touch with some of the women I lived with. I would like to thank Teresa Sharon for sharing her compassion and starting Precious Life and saving countless of women and their babies. And Teresa Murphy for giving me this opportunity and for believing in me. And Wanda for getting me through the day-by-day activities and knowing what I was capable of doing before I knew it myself. And Martha for keeping me on track when it seemed so impossible to pay thousands of dollars in debt and court fees. She showed me the true value of saving. And Jack, who was my therapist at PLS, he showed me how to accept my past and to use it for the good. And Magella, who I met through Precious Life, I am blessed to have such an amazing woman who supports me throughout this journey of mine. She continues to show me what I want in life. It wasn't by chance there was an empty bed the day I needed it. It was God's design. His hand guided me and took me there, and he still leads me. Thank you.